face. Send me a 94, 1018.
Get your ass out my face. Don't touch me. If I don't touch you, don't touch me.
Hi, welcome to another episode of Car to Car. I'm Ramon.
And hi, I'm Dana.
On today's episode, we're going to be talking about a traffic stop that went horribly wrong in Florida. Dana, what do you think?
Well, if rude for no reason was a person, this is what I would describe this young lady to be. Because the officer stopped her for speeding, and obviously she did not agree with it. And she just began to just be rude. Now, I want to commend the officer because he was very professional, but I think he over-explained even his credentials for, for stopping her, like his credentials for being a speeding expert. Said that he was retired motor officer and all that. You don't need to do that. Very professional. Explain, I stop you for speeding, license, registration, proof of insurance. And go back to your car and you do that. And so I did see engaged her in too much conversation for me. And she took advantage of that, being just very, very rude and defiant. And she threw out, eventually calling him racist, eventually threatening him to say she would shoot him. And I don't like people throwing out the word racist for everything. Just because you don't like being pulled over, you don't like the enforcement of police work, doesn't mean a person is racist. And that's not the place for you to argue your dissatisfaction. Take it to court. If you feel the officer's being rude, which by no stretch of the imagination she could say that, but if that's your thing, then you go and you ask for a supervisor, or you go to the station and you file a complaint. But it's very just rude. And I was disappointed in the fact that she took that so far. She never been arrested before, and now you have a criminal record for what? And to worse than that, she had her children in the car. So I applaud the officer for not taking such enforcement action to traumatize her children. He thought more of her children than she thought of her children in that moment. So just I applaud the officer, but she earned that arrest.
I agree. I think you were kind of nitpicking a little bit on the police officer. I thought he did a good job. Sometimes we get criticized for not explaining at all. So I think he did a good job of explaining. Like you said, I think he did an excellent job at restraint because had those kids not been in the car, like you said, he respected her kids more than she respected her kids. I think he would have tasered her, and she deserved it because he was trying to pull her out of the car once he determined that the arrest was going to be made, which rightfully so, because at that point, she had already threatened to shoot him. She had already ignored all of his commands. He really tried to help her in this situation, and she didn't see it. As citizens, the first thing you can't do when a police officer walks up to your car is tell them that you didn't do anything wrong, because for the most part, you're being stopped for a reason. All officers are not bad. You just have this 1 or 2%. And you got 1 or 2% in any job that has some sort of a corrupt identity or modus operandi. But for the most part, I would say about 95% of police officers are good people. So don't automatically assume that the police officer stopping you is wrong. He told you that you were going 60 miles an hour. No, I was going 35. A lot of times the cars are not as calibrated as we do with our lasers and our radars. So, you know, um, at least accept the traffic ticket on the scene, and then go and complain, and then ask for all of the documents and make the officer prove that his radar or his car, because sometimes we use our car to pace, or the laser was actually calibrated. You know, you can't threaten to shoot a police officer. She's like, I know my rights and this and that, and that.
Exactly. That's one of the exceptions for freedom of speech. You cannot threaten someone. That's not free speech
It is not
at all.
It's like
That's almost free. Get a beat down.
exactly.
Because
It's like screaming fire in a theater or somewhere. You can't
yeah,
do that. Freedom of speech is it's subject to. It's just not a blanket freedom of speech. So she was squaring off at the police officer and things of that nature. And so I just, like I said, I thought that the arrest was justified. He wasn't racist at all. I think he did a really good job. And even when the backup police officers came, I thought that they did a good job trying to respect her as a woman. You heard them talking about, well, she has shorts on and stuff like that. Because I don't know if a female police officer wasn't available, but we try to do our best when handling females because we don't want any incidents. And I thought they did a really good job.
I
So
think so too. I think the supervisor did a good job as well. Um, and one thing I would want to say to the citizen is when an officer tells you that you're under arrest, just know that the more you don't comply, the use of force is going to ramp up to get you because you're going to do it two ways. As I always tell people, you're going to jail and you can do it two ways, the easy way or the hard way. So just know the more that you resist that, it's going to be the hard way. And it's just better to comply and then fight that battle, not on that street. And he did a lot. He had so many opportunities to use force and he did not. He waited for his backup. He called back up and he waited for the backup, which is awesome. And he did an excellent job in that situation where she was pretty much just almost forcing him to use force, and he used restraint to wait for his backup and to take her into custody safely.
yeah, the only just a few other key takeaways is that maybe when you see a citizen's behavior at that level, get back up there sooner. And I would say to citizens, hey, treat officers how you would want to be treated if you were, in fact, a police officer. If you try to look at it from that standpoint, that interaction will probably go differently. And I think compliance saves your life. And we have to get into this mindset, and it's maybe not right because other communities are treated differently at times. But guess what? That's not your circumstance. Treat your circumstance how it is. If a man has a gun to your face, do you say, hey, if I was a guy, you wouldn't put a gun to my face? Or you got to know your circumstance and treat your circumstance how it is. So I would say treat officers how you would want to be treated if you were a police officer, and compliance can save your life.
Absolutely. So that's all I have. And here's another episode of Car to Car Podcast. Please be sure to like, share, subscribe, and comment. And
Until next time.